The Galactic Trade Council chamber fell silent as Zixither the Magnificent, the wealthiest being in known space, slammed his crystalline appendage on the obsidian table. His 3 eyes gleamed with contempt as he stared at the holographic display of Earth, that insignificant blue marble spinning in an unremarkable corner of the Orion Arm. These humans, he hissed, his translator rendering his disdain perfectly in 47 languages simultaneously. Survive on luck alone. Cut off their supply chains for 90 days, and they'll be begging at our feet. Arthur Chen sat in the back of the observation gallery, his weathered hands folded calmly in his lap. The elderly agricultural engineer had been invited as Earth's representative, though most assumed it was merely a courtesy. Beside him, Ariel Santos, Earth's youngest trade negotiator at 28, bristled at Zixither's words. Careful, Arthur whispered, placing a gentle hand on her arm. Let him talk. Zixither continued his tirade. I propose a wager. I will use my considerable resources to blockade Earth. No imports, no exports, no aid. 90 days. When their population starves and their economy crumbles, Earth will become my property, a nice addition to my collection of 17 conquered worlds. The council members shifted uncomfortably. Even by their standards, this was extreme. And if Earth survives? Asked Ambassador Thrin of the collective. Zixither's laugh echoed through the chamber. Then I forfeit my entire fortune, all 847 trillion credits, to be distributed among Earth's population. He turned his gaze to Arthur. Do you accept, human? Ariel started to stand, but Arthur rose first, his movements deliberate and calm. We accept. The blockade began immediately. Zixither's armada, purchased with a mere fraction of his wealth, surrounded Earth's orbital space. Every trade route was severed. Agricultural imports ceased. Technology shipments stopped. The galaxy watched with morbid fascination, expecting Earth to capitulate within weeks. Day 1, emergency sessions convened in every Earth government. But instead of panic, there was purpose. Arthur had spent 40 years preparing for something like this, though he'd never imagined the threat would come from beyond Earth. We've been dependent too long, he told the World Council via hologram from his small farm in Iowa. Time to remember who we are. Day 7, Ariel coordinated with regional leaders across the globe. Warehouses were inventoried. Vertical farms in every major city kicked into overdrive. Arthur's network of agricultural engineers began implementing techniques they'd been developing for decades: high-yield hydroponics, mycoprotein production, algae cultivation. Zixither watched from his luxury vessel, amused. Desperation already. How quaint. Day 15, the first surprise. Earth's energy consumption had dropped by 60%, yet production was increasing. Zixither's analysts scrambled to understand how. They didn't know about the mothballed fusion reactors that humans had built just in case, or the massive solar rays that had been considered economically unviable but never dismantled. Arthur smiled as he walked through his automated greenhouse. Never throw anything away. My grandmother taught me that. Day 30, Zixither's confidence wavered. Reports showed no mass starvation, no riots, no collapse. Instead, something unexpected: community gardens had sprung up in every available space. Parks, rooftops, abandoned lots. Humans, it seemed, actually enjoyed growing their own food. Ariel presented the monthly report to Earth's leadership. We're at 93% self-sufficiency. The blockade has actually reduced our food waste by 70%. People are eating healthier than they have in decades. Day 45, the galactic markets began to fluctuate. Zixither had invested heavily in shorting Earth's economy, expecting collapse. Instead, Earth's internal market was thriving. Bartering networks, local manufacturing, community cooperation systems that had atrophied during the age of galactic trade were roaring back to life. Arthur received a visitor at his farm, a young woman from Mumbai who'd pioneered a way to grow rice using 90% less water. Your protocols worked, Dr. Chen. We're feeding 1 billion people from city farms alone. Day 60, Zixither was hemorrhaging credits. His blockade was expensive to maintain, and his market positions were failing catastrophically. Earth's resilience had inspired other blockaded worlds to resist their oppressors. His financial empire was crumbling. He sent a priority message to Ariel. Name your price. End this charade. She deleted it without responding. Day 75. The tide had turned completely. Zixither's creditors were circling. His armada was deserting, unpaid and demoralized. Earth, meanwhile, had discovered they didn't actually need most of what they'd been importing. The blockade had forced innovation that should have happened decades ago. Arthur stood in a field of genetically optimized wheat, its golden waves stretching to the horizon. We got soft, he admitted to Ariel, who'd come to visit. Forgot how to take care of ourselves. Sometimes you need someone to take away your crutches to remember you can walk. Day 90. Zixither the Magnificent, no longer magnificent, stood before the Galactic Trade Council in a simple robe. His fortune was gone, seized by creditors and legal judgments. The remaining 127 trillion credits, what little was left, were being transferred to Earth. Arthur declined the podium, letting Ariel speak for humanity. We didn't do this to destroy Zixither, she said, her voice steady. We did this to remember who we are. Humans are survivors. We're innovators. We thrive under pressure, and we don't give up. She looked at Zixither directly. You thought you could starve us. Instead, you reminded us how to feed ourselves. Thank you. The funds were distributed to agricultural research, sustainable technology, and education programs across Earth. Arthur used his share to establish free farming schools in every nation. Zixither, now penniless, was last seen working as a junior clerk on a trading station, learning humility one transaction at a time. And Earth closed its borders for another year, not out of spite, but to finish what they'd started, building a truly self-sufficient world that would never again be vulnerable to the whims of galactic powers. Arthur sat on his porch, watching the sunset paint his fields gold and amber. Ariel sat beside him, reviewing proposals for Earth's eventual return to galactic trade on their terms this time. Think they learned their lesson? She asked. Arthur chuckled. About underestimating humans? Maybe, but there'll be others. There always are, and we'll be ready. We'll always be ready, Arthur agreed. That's what humans do.